The day you realize wealth was never the goal. Imagine waking up tomorrow with a life that looks exactly the same as it did yesterday. The same coffee mug sitting on the kitchen counter. The same pair of shoes by the front door. The same commute. The same grocery store cashier who recognizes you but doesn't know your name. Nothing appears different. Yet somewhere between breakfast and lunch, a notification lands quietly on your phone informing you that your net worth has crossed a number most people spend their entire lives dreaming about. Not 10 million, not 50 million, not even 100 million. A number so large that it instantly removes every financial problem you could realistically encounter for the rest of your life. And the strange thing is that after reading it, you still have to decide whether you need milk on the way home. Most people believe wealth arrives like a thunderstorm. Loud, dramatic, impossible to miss. But the reality is often much stranger. Real wealth usually enters through a side door nobody notices. It arrives disguised as consistency, as repetition, as thousands of small decisions that never looked important at the time. The truth is that extraordinary outcomes are often built from painfully ordinary days. Consider a man walking through a warehouse store on a rainy Wednesday afternoon. He isn't shopping for luxury goods. He's buying industrial light bulbs. Not because he enjoys it, because one of his rental properties needs replacements and the maintenance supervisor is on vacation. As he pushes the cart down aisle 12, he notices something most shoppers ignore. A row of vending machines near the entrance. People walk up, insert money, grab a drink, walk away. Simple, forgettable, automatic. Everyone sees the machine. Almost nobody sees the business. That's a distinction that changes everything. Most people move through life consuming systems. A small percentage spend their time studying them. The customer buys a soda. The owner studies the cash flow. The customer parks a car. The owner studies the revenue per space. The customer washes clothes. The owner studies the occupancy rate. The customer sees a billboard. The owner sees a long-term lease agreement attached to a piece of dirt beside a highway. One person experiences the world. The other examines the machinery underneath it. And over enough years, that difference compounds into something remarkable. The funny thing is that none of these opportunities look exciting. Nobody creates documentaries about successful parking lots. Nobody writes best-selling biographies about the person who owns 3 profitable laundromats. Nobody posts motivational quotes about the guy collecting ground rent from billboard companies. Because boring doesn't attract attention. But boring frequently attracts money. There is a lesson hidden inside that contradiction. Attention and wealth are not always moving in the same direction. Sometimes they are moving in opposite directions. The world celebrates visible success. The world rewards useful success. Those are not identical things. A startup founder might appear on magazine covers. Meanwhile, an anonymous business owner running 6 unglamorous service companies quietly earns more money than entire teams of highly celebrated entrepreneurs. Nobody notices because nobody is looking. Human beings are naturally drawn toward excitement, toward novelty, toward stories, toward things that feel revolutionary. But history suggests something different. Many fortunes are built not on revolution, but on reliability. Not on disruption, but on repetition. Not on creating entirely new needs, but on serving existing ones better than anyone else. People need places to live. People need transportation. People need food. People need storage. People need maintenance. People need cleaning. People need convenience. The businesses attached to these needs rarely become fashionable, yet they continue producing revenue long after trends disappear. That reality becomes more obvious with age. When you're young, you often believe the future belongs to the loudest opportunity. Later, you realize the future frequently belongs to the most dependable one. Imagine spending 15 years building a collection of businesses. None of them sound impressive at parties. None of them generate headlines. None of them attract venture capital firms. But together they create something powerful. A machine. Not a machine made of gears and steel. A machine made of systems. Managers. Processes. Contracts. Customers. Habitual demand. Each individual piece seems insignificant. Together they become resilient. And resilience is one of the most underrated forms of wealth. People talk endlessly about making money. Few talk about keeping it. Even fewer talk about creating structures that continue producing it without requiring constant attention. That is where the game changes. Because there comes a moment when income is no longer connected directly to hours worked. The business opens whether you arrive or not. The property collects rent whether you're traveling or sleeping. The contract renews whether you're checking your email or sitting on a beach. That doesn't mean the work disappears. It means the nature of the work evolves. You stop pulling the cart. You start designing the wheels. And once you experience that transition, your perspective changes permanently. You begin noticing how many people spend their lives renting certainty from systems they don't own. They rely on employers, platforms, markets, institutions. Meanwhile, ownership creates a different relationship with uncertainty. Ownership doesn't eliminate risk. It simply changes where the leverage exists. This realization often arrives quietly. Perhaps you're sitting alone reviewing financial statements late at night. No music, no celebration, just spreadsheets, rows of numbers, expenses, revenue, margins. And somewhere inside those pages, you recognize a pattern. A business that once required your daily involvement now operates efficiently without you. A property once purchased with nervous optimism has doubled in value. A small investment made years ago has multiplied repeatedly. You don't feel excitement. You feel something deeper. Validation. Proof. Evidence that the architecture works. That word matters. Architecture. Because architecture survives emotion. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline fluctuates. Confidence rises and falls. Architecture remains. The right systems continue functioning during good moods and bad ones. That is why successful people become obsessed with structure. They understand something others often overlook. Results are temporary. Systems are repeatable. A lucky outcome can happen once. A reliable process can happen forever. That distinction explains why some people achieve success and lose it while others steadily expand it for decades. One depends on outcomes. The other depends on architecture. Now imagine carrying this knowledge through everyday life. Nobody around you knows. Your neighbors assume you're comfortable. Your coworkers assume you're doing fine. Your friends assume you're similar to them. And maybe that's exactly how you want it. Because wealth creates a strange social gravity. The moment people know you have money, interactions begin changing. Sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically. Expectations appear. Assumptions multiply. Conversations shift. People stop relating to your experiences and start relating to your resources. Not always, but often enough. This is why many genuinely wealthy people become increasingly private over time. Not because they're ashamed, not because they're secretive, because privacy preserves normality. And normality becomes surprisingly valuable once you realize how rare it is. There is freedom in walking into a room without being evaluated through the lens of your balance sheet. There is freedom in having friendships that exist independent of financial considerations. There is freedom in being underestimated. In fact, being underestimated might be one of the most powerful advantages available. The person who appears ordinary is frequently ignored. Ignored people are free. They can observe, learn, build, experiment, fail quietly, succeed quietly, move without attracting resistance. History is filled with individuals who mastered this principle, not by pretending to be less capable, but by refusing to perform capability for an audience. They understood that attention has a cost. Every spotlight creates expectations. Every expectation creates pressure. Every pressure creates constraints. Sometimes the smartest move is simply avoiding the spotlight entirely, because the goal was never applause. The goal was autonomy, and autonomy changes everything. Autonomy means deciding how to spend a Tuesday afternoon. Autonomy means refusing opportunities that don't align with your priorities. Autonomy means helping people because you want to, not because you need something in return. Most importantly, autonomy means owning your time. Money is often described as freedom. That description is incomplete. Money alone is not freedom. Many wealthy individuals remain trapped. They are trapped by lifestyles, by obligations, by reputations, by businesses they cannot leave, by expectations they cannot escape. Freedom emerges when resources and control exist together. When your life belongs to you. When your calendar belongs to you. When your decisions belong to you. That is a much rarer achievement. And it requires something most people underestimate. Patience. Extraordinary patience. Because wealth rarely arrives according to the timeline people imagine. People want transformation. Reality offers accumulation. People want dramatic breakthroughs. Reality offers incremental progress. People want overnight success. Reality offers 10,000 ordinary days stacked carefully on top of each other. The challenge is psychological. Human beings struggle to appreciate progress while it is happening. Growth feels invisible when measured daily. Yet over years, invisible growth becomes impossible to ignore. Think about a tree. You can stare at it for an hour and see nothing change. Return 10 years later, and it towers above you. The same principle governs wealth. Most fortunes are not built in moments. They are built in seasons. Seasons of saving. Seasons of learning. Seasons of reinvesting. Seasons of saying no when yes would feel better. Seasons of choosing durability over excitement. These choices rarely feel heroic. Nobody applauds them. Nobody records them. Yet they create outcomes that appear miraculous to outsiders. Outsiders see the destination. They rarely see the years spent constructing the road. And perhaps that's why the final realization feels so unexpected. Because eventually you arrive somewhere you once considered extraordinary. Yet you remain exactly the same person. You still forget grocery items. You still postpone small repairs. You still drink coffee too quickly. You still worry about people you love. You still have bad days. You still have ordinary Tuesdays. The number changed. You didn't. And that's when a deeper question emerges. If money wasn't the thing you were actually chasing, what were you chasing? For some people, the answer is security. For others, independence. For others, mastery. For others, peace. Eventually, many discover that wealth was never the destination. It was simply evidence. Evidence that a system worked. Evidence that discipline mattered. Evidence that patience produced results. Evidence that deliberate choices accumulated into meaningful outcomes. The money becomes a scoreboard. The architecture becomes the achievement. That realization often arrives late. But when it arrives, it changes everything. Because suddenly success stops being measured exclusively by accumulation. It starts being measured by alignment. Does your life reflect your values? Does your calendar reflect your priorities? Do your relationships reflect who you actually are? Have you built something meaningful? Have you become someone you respect? These questions matter long after financial goals are achieved. And they matter because money solves many problems. But it does not answer those questions. Only you can answer them. Which brings us back to that ordinary Wednesday. The industrial light bulbs. The warehouse store. The shopping cart. The notification. The number on the screen. The moment that was supposed to feel life-changing. And yet the most important realization wasn't that the goal had been reached. It was understanding that the goal had quietly evolved years earlier. The real victory wasn't becoming wealthy. The real victory was becoming the kind of person capable of building wealth without needing wealth to define them. That's a different achievement entirely. And perhaps that's the lesson hiding beneath every remarkable financial story. The money gets all the attention. The character built along the way deserves most of the credit. Because long after the numbers change, the markets fluctuate, and the headlines disappear, one thing remains. The person who made the decisions. The person who kept showing up. The person who kept building. The person who learned to see systems where others saw ordinary objects. And maybe that is the ultimate form of wealth. Not what sits in your accounts. Not what people think you own. Not what the world assumes about your success. But the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can build value wherever you go. Because once you understand the architecture, you stop chasing outcomes. You start creating them. And that is a form of freedom no number can fully measure.